IdahoSports.com's 20th anniversary season and presentation of the 2017 IdahoSports.com Football Preview Show is brought to you in part by the Idaho Army National Guard. Defend what matters most. By Cable One, the face of fast. By your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. And by Project Filter, Idaho fights tobacco.
Welcome to Mountain View High School, the IdahoSports.com high school football preview show. It's time to talk a little 4A here. Will Hoenike, Matt Harris, Paul Kingsbury. Matt writes the check. Paul has to cash him. I'm just here for my charming wit. 4A football, second largest classification in Idaho. You look back to last year's state championship game. Skyline Bishop Kelly literally comes down to the final play of the game where Bishop Kelly with a chance to win the game on a long field goal try after an improbable Skyline Rally at Bronco Stadium. What a game that was, and what a stage that sets for this season.
It was a great game. I can't remember a championship game that was as exciting as that one was.
Unless you're a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's a high-scoring game. And what's funny is last year, prior to that game, Coach Scott Berger for Skyline said, "I don't care if we win this game 2-0 or 50-49." Of course, the final score is 50-49.
50-49.
And it was a great game. I mean, you can't script a running back handoff, jump pass to the wide receiver in the end zone on the 2-point conversion to win the game, with 18 seconds left or whatever it was. That was just an awesome game, and it was our most listened to game as well.
It was. We'll get to that a little bit later. Will and I were over at Middleton High School during that game. We were doing the 3A and the 1A Division II games. Great games as well. The 4A classification, you can go on Idaho Sports and look at last year's bracket. In fact, you can go on Idaho Sports and see this year's bracket. Just go to Idaho Sports State Tournaments and find the brackets. But up and down, there were some great teams coming into that tournament, and it's going to be interesting to see how those teams combat graduation. It seems like this year, more than any, across the state, 5A to 1A D2, a common theme that we saw during our prep was offensive lines being retooled. It's all going to come down to how the offensive line comes together. It's a lot of big guys graduated for some reason, and so it's going to be interesting to see how specifically the 4A teams come back and manage that.
State tournament brackets are brought to you by Cable One High-Speed Internet, the face of fast. We've got sprinklers going behind us, so if we suddenly take off running a different direction...
We're playing in the sprinklers.
At this point, it feels good. Let's be honest. It's like 95 degrees out here.
Sprinklers may have shifted on us a little bit. Let's start with District 5 and 6. In particular, defending champion Skyline, 12-0. They have 5 players who earned all-state honors back this year. A couple of big guys, a running back. I mean, they're not hurting. They won the state championship last year. They lost some good players. They've got some really good players back.
They do, and a lot of it comes, like you said, on that offensive line. Their offensive line is going to be very, very, very good this year, which is perfect for All-State running back Kyler Morgan, who's also back for the Skyline Grizzlies. Going to make him a great opportunity to have a stellar season. I mean, you look at Daniel Helsley, Marley Garcia, Dylan Casa. They're all back on the offensive line for the Skyline Grizzlies. Yes, they lost Carson Lott. Yes, they lost David Ames III. Yes, they lost Bridger Taylor and a couple of other players. But they also have wide receiver Caleb Mays back. He played a big factor last year as well, Paul. I mean, this is a team that of all the teams in Eastern Idaho, they probably bring back the most in terms of high-level talent in that regard.
That's right, and it's not often that a team can do that. A lot of times a team will lose a lot to graduation and then go, it's going to be a couple years as we get these young guys in. That's not the case for Skyline. They graduated a lot, but they had a lot of talent in the junior class that are now seniors, seasoned veteran seniors that are coming back to lead their team. It's going to be fun to watch.
And to add to one more thing to that, I did their preview on IdahoSports.com. I wrote it, and I asked Scott Berger what their offense can improve on. He said, honestly, I don't think we can improve on what we did last year.
Only
just for the simple fact.
Under 37 points, only
score one
time.
more point.
Yeah,
in the championship.
They were just that good on offense last year, and their defense was pretty good as well. Now, going to be a little bit of a different dynamic this year. They're bringing Dylan Bialis at quarterback, but he got a lot of time behind center because for them, they were always blowing out teams, so he got to get in third, fourth quarter.
Blackfoot Broncos with 8 wins, the number 2 team in terms of number of wins. They made it to the state playoffs, were defeated by Bishop Kelly in the playoffs. After that, it's a little bit of a jumble in terms of last year's results. I want to the moment, focus on that number 2 and number 3. Blackfoot 8-4, Idaho Falls 4-6. Does Idaho Falls have the pieces to jump over Blackfoot and have a chance to get maybe that number 2 or maybe even number 1 seed?
Potentially they could, and a lot of it's going to depend on how they come together under their new offense. They installed a new offense, head coach Pete Molino. They said they wanted to really focus on the run to allow it to open up the pass game. And, they've had some poor seasons at Idaho Falls in recent years. Last year was kind of a bit of a revelation for them, being able to make it into the first round of the state playoffs. They've got punt returner Cameron Conrad back. Yeah. He is a good punt returner. They've also got Carson Fugelberg, who is a BYU commit, plays tight end. He's a big kid, has a lot of potential. They also have their now junior quarterback, Cannon Thompson. He'll be back as well. Last year, he got part of his season cut short due to injury, but if they can put it all together this year, they might be able to make a run.
They could. I think Idaho Falls, Preston, Pocatello. I think those are the 3. One of them will be the number 2 team coming out. Idaho Falls, maybe. I think Preston has the advantage with the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Once again, going back to the offensive line coming in for it. So, we'll get to our conference picks in a minute. But I think Idaho Falls is a program that's building for sure.
And Preston, they have Britton Atkinson, their quarterback. He was a junior last year. He can sling the ball all over the field. I mean, there's one game, I believe they played Shelley, and he threw 52 passes. Wow. Now, he'll be a senior, make a few more better decisions. He'll have some more things open up in their offense. Maybe he won't be required to throw so many passes, but he is certainly a bright spot as well, along with offensive lineman Braden Parker. You may remember him from state basketball as a big center for Preston.
Some conference picks times here. We'll do this for all of the conferences in here. We'll give you a taste of what we expect this year, and we'll start in this conference right here. Who do you expect to rise to the top, so to speak? Doesn't necessarily have to be the team you think is going to win that conference championship per se, but what team do you guys have your eyes on here in District 5-6?
I still think Skyline is going to be the class of the conference. I still think they bring back more talent and more experience, and they're so well coached as well. But don't sleep on Pocatello as well. Pocatello, they've been under Dave Spillett now for a couple of seasons. They're getting his system, they're understanding it, and they have a few players back as well, but they're also very exciting to watch. Watch out for them.
What he said. I'm looking at Skyline, and then my number 2s were Preston, Pocatello. I think it's going to be that close. Everything he just said is basically what I had to say, where Pocatello is probably going to be that number 2 team.
I really do feel that the second and third spots in the conference are up for grabs, though, as well. I mean, because Blackfoot lost a lot. Preston brings back some. Pocatello brings back some. Idaho Falls, you don't know what they're going to do with all the talent they have coming back. Century has a really young team this year. Shout out to Coach Hobson. You call him Coach Q-Ball, but
that's right.
Yeah,
affectionately.
We love Coach Hobson, but he's got a young team, maybe a year away there developmentally, but it's going to be a competitive conference.
Going to be a good one. We got other ones to talk about when we come back. If you're in District 4, District 1, 2, whatever it is, stay tuned. We'll get to you next on the 4A Preview Show here on IdahoSports.com.
In the Army National Guard, you'll serve part-time to be ready to respond at all times. You'll train to master the skills and equipment used to keep the nation secure and its enemies on the run. You'll learn to be a leader and a member of a team. Become part of a time-honored tradition of vigilance and selfless service. Find your adventure at NationalGuard.com.
The future is now, with the next generation of internet speed. Giga One from Cable One. With up to 1,000 megabits per second, now there's almost no limit to what you can do and how fast you can do it. So create now. Connect now with unsurpassed speed that lets you be you. Why wait for tomorrow? Giga One from Cable One. The future is now. What you waiting for?
Back on IdahoSports.com, I'm Will, he's Matt, he's Paul, talking 4A football here in the state of Idaho, defending champ Skyline. We've already talked about them. We've talked about District 5 and 6. Let's come over to the Valley now with District 3. Bishop Kelly, the perennial bulldog over here, the bully that everybody wants to beat. They fell in that state championship game last year in dramatic style, but they have the looks of a team, again, not a ton of returners back, but a lot of guys who played a lot of minutes, a lot of snaps, so maybe not the lack of experience that it may appear on paper.
They're Bishop Kelly. They always good. They have a great program. Tim Brennan runs an excellent program at Bishop Kelly, and I just expect it to be a next man up mentality for them. And I think that they will certainly be a contender again this year. Bishop Kelly, like I said, when was the last time they didn't make the state tournament, or last time they didn't make a big run.
Wow.
I mean, they were going for their 4th straight state title last year until Skyline spoiled that in the last minute.
Yep, and they could very well come back. They're building around defense. Rex Irby staying put, and so they'll be built. When you can build a team around defense, knowing that you've got offense coming up, watch out. And you can never count a team coached by Tim Brennan out, ever.
A lot of good coaches in this particular division, and that's not uncommon across the state of Idaho, but I want to put the spotlight on the coaches for a minute here in the 4A SIC. We already talked about Tim Brennan, Emmett, Skyview, Valley View, some really, really well-coached football teams.
Can't forget about Bill Brock at Middleton either. I mean, Bill's
been there a long
been
time,
at Middleton for a long time, runs an excellent program, and they finished 4th in the 4A SIC last year, fell in the quarterfinals to BK, but I mean, it doesn't matter who's there. Those guys can get the most out of their players, and that's certainly a testament to their ability to coach.
Right, and a lot of conferences around the state, you'll have that 1 or 2 coaches that have been there, the stalwarts that have been there for 8, 10, 15, 20 years sometimes. You get here in the Treasure Valley and the SIC, those coaches you just mentioned, they've been here. I mean, we've been getting preview forums from these guys every year for a very long time. And so they know how it works. They've had their systems in place. And I think that's the most important thing. There's systems in place so that the kids that were running those plays when they were in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, they're now bulked up, put on 50, 60 more pounds, and now playing on the varsity level.
We know a lot about Bishop Kelly just because we've seen them a lot. We also saw a team a lot last year on IdahoSports.com, Emmett.
Yeah.
Moving up from 3A, they come up to 4A and they win 8 games, not too shabby. They got some good players back again this year. DJ Crump, a name we've been calling for a while. The Huskies could be a tough team again this year.
They're very well coached. DJ Crump plays both offense and defense, running back, defensive back. He's an all-SIC selection. Michael Walker at linebacker as well. Taylor Fletcher on the offensive line. I mean, you give Crump a little bit of space, and he's gone.
And I was just going to say, if you've got a great offensive lineman with a great running back, that's a great tandem to have.
Right. And I think they're a team that certainly can make some noise in the SIC again this year.
3A picks, guys. Teams you expect at the top. Let's go. Paul, we'll start with you.
You go with me first?
Yep.
All right, I'm excited about these. Skyview, number 1. I think they have the talent. I mean, they're bringing back Wyatt Storr, a young quarterback, great quarterback, and he's throwing it to DeMonte Horton. I mean, Storr actually, I've seen it, closes his eyes, turns around and throws it, and he doesn't. But Horton gets up there. He's a great receiver with a great quarterback. Kingston. All these guys on this Skyview team, great coaches, great guys doing their job behind them. Great team last year. I think they're going to be an exceptional team this year, and I think they're going to come out and surprise a lot of people, including Bishop Kelly, who will come in second.
I like Skyview as well. I mean, Wyatt Storr is an all-state quarterback, and that was as a sophomore. I mean, he's got a couple of years. He's got DeMonte Horton as well. He has all the tools to be a phenomenal receiver at the next level as well. You look at Bishop Kelly as well. They're going to factor in there. Don't count out Valley View.
Right.
Lane Coffin.
Yep.
I mean, they by virtue of tiebreaker is the reason why they weren't in the playoffs last year. That's the reason why.
Yep.
And so, I mean, Valley View is going to be, the SIC is going to be a very, very good conference again.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay with Bishop Kelly to win because they did lose a lot of players, a lot of very well-known players going on, a lot of them playing college football. But guys like Cameron Foley and Khalil Forehead, as I mentioned, those are guys that got a ton of snaps last year. They're not coming in green or inexperienced. Those guys made plays for Bishop Kelly last year. So I'm going to stay with the Knights, but I like your guys' call of Skyview as a team that's going to be a tough out. And I've been in this valley for 20 years, which is almost as long as Bill Brock has been at Middleton. You'll never see me doubt a Bill Brock team. No. They're going to be a tough team no matter what. Heading up north, District 1-2 in the 4A. It's a small division, a small conference, the Inland Empire League up there, just 3 teams, Sandpoint, Moscow, Lakeland. Who do you guys like up there?
Sandpoint's getting their feet under them now. They've got George Yarner Jr. now in his second year as the head coach at Sandpoint. He's got some good coaching pedigree. He's got a lot of players back. Robbie Johnson, their quarterback, an all IEL selection. Got Hayden Emerson, Peyton Cox as well on the defensive side of things. The second year always seems to be see the most jumps in that second year when a coach is at a program. I expect Sandpoint to do that as well. Look at Lakeland too. Tim Kiefer and his crew. I mean, they won it last year, went 5-5 on the year, ended up losing in the quarterfinals to Blackfoot. But they bring back a ton of talent. You look at Wyatt Gatton, Brad Allen, Josh Brandt, Nathan Johnson. Those are names that you're going to hear quite a bit if you're around the Lakeland program, and they're going to make a big impact this year. And Moscow, you just never know with them. Moscow can come up and flat out surprise you.
Yeah, when you're in a 3-team conference, it's the end of the season that counts. And so you see a record that in the first, 3, 4 games, 5 games, and you go, wow, they're good, or wow, they're bad, but you don't know who they've been playing, because especially up there where they're playing out-of-state teams.
Montana, Washington, right?
Right, but you look at, looking at the Sandpoint preview on our site that I believe you wrote.
I did.
You look at that, and there's a list of returning players, a lot of seniors, a couple of juniors, but the thing that stands out, there's a lot of first team next to a lot of their names. It's a lot of really, really good players coming back. They're going to score a lot of points with a brand new grandstand up there on their home field.
Yeah, Barlow, if you've never been there, it's one of the better places one of the better venues.
War Memorial, yeah.
In the state of Idaho. I will bring this up about Moscow. 3 returning all-conference caliber offensive linemen, and you win and lose in the trenches.
Yep.
Adam Wallace, Pat Coulter, Tanner Newton. So head coach Phil Helblinger, he has what appears to be a pretty good offensive line to start with.
And then you you brought up how the offensive line really makes the difference, and that we see a lot of teams that are talking about that this year. They've got Jake Kiblin, running back, as an all-conference selection, who's back for them as well.
Right.
That can make things very, very interesting in this conference overall. And I mean, this is one of those conferences on the rise, it feels like.
Who wins it?
I'll go first. Sandpoint. I think Sandpoint wins it fairly handily. I think the runner-up, second place, I think it's going to be a little tighter, especially with that offensive line core coming back for Moscow, mixed with the talent Lakeland has. It's going to be an interesting, but I think in the end, Lakeland's going to come out ahead for that second place spot.
I've got Lakeland to win the conference in this one. I think that they have a little bit more experience on offense and on defense returning back. We talked a lot about how the offensive line makes that impact. They're in a lot of the same position that Moscow is. Have an all-conference returning running back in Wyatt Gatton, a couple of offensive linemen who are back as all-conference selections, plus on the defensive side of things as well. But it's going to be very tight all around. Lakeland, and then I believe Sandpoint and Moscow battle it out for second.
2 of the 3 headed to the playoffs, to the postseason play. Down in District 4, down in Twin Falls, we've got our Twin Falls Magic Valley game night that we've been doing for years down there.
Little Scotty Burton.
Yeah, Scott Burton,
Mike
Savage.
Yep.
I look at the info that we dug up on this and the research that we did, and the word that just keeps coming to mind to me is balance. I look at these 6 teams. I don't see any of the 6 running away. I don't know that I see any of the 6 getting buried either.
Yeah,
it's very, very even. Most years you can look in there, you say, okay, Hoenike, they seem to be a front runner. Twin Falls seems to be that front runner. This year you don't have that, and I think that's a good thing, especially for conference parity and just for unpredictability, and that makes every conference game very, very watchable as well, because you're not going to go in with a preconceived notion that one team's going to blow out the other by 50 points. It's going to be a very, very fun season to watch from them. Very even across the board, it feels like.
Right, and you've got like the SIC, you've got those entrenched coaches as well. Sid Gamble's there at Jerome, Alan Reynolds at Twin, Perigo at Hoenike, Stilling, Wood River. I mean, and now a brand new head coach at Burley, Tony Cade, looking to turn things around, which I think he can. Great guy, great coach, coming into a tough program. They've won 4 games in the last 3-4 years. So the bar's set pretty low for him, but he's got talent, he's got the motivation, and he's got the support from the school and the town as well. So like we talked about, it's fairly even, but I think there is, the scale's weighted a little bit on the side of the Hoenike's, the Wood Rivers, and the Twin Falls.
Wood River won 8 football games last year. They might have been one of the quietest 800 win percentage teams in the state of Idaho in terms of what people know about them. Could they repeat this year?
They could, but they lost a lot of talent from last year as well. They just have to have those new players step up in there. They very well could do it, and a lot of it's going to come down to injuries, honestly. Who's going to be the most healthy come conference time and throughout their conference schedule? If they can keep their team healthy, they'll certainly have a shot. Another team we want to look at maybe too is Twin Falls. They bring back quite a few all-conference players, and of course you mentioned Hoenike as well.
No, you're right, and depth plays such a factor in some of these teams like a Wood River, where those one or two guys goes out, you look around and go, well, get out there and try hard. And unfortunately, we see that. It's football. Injuries happen. You hope for the best, but something's going to happen to somebody along the way where they twist an ankle or break a finger or whatever, and it's going to happen. So everything always comes down to health. Every coach we ever interviewed says it. So that Magic Valley whole area and the Mini Cassia area, it's going to be interesting to watch.
Our picks in the Magic Valley in that District 4 Great Basin are...
Am I starting this time?
Yeah, why don't you go first this time?
I'm going to go with Hoenike. Hoenike is very well coached by Tim Perigo. They run the same stuff all throughout growing up. They're in Rupert and in that area.
No secrets.
There's no secrets. You know what you're getting from them. still doesn't mean you can stop it sometimes. It's like watching the pick and roll Stockton to Malone back in the day. You know what they're going to run, and you still have to try to figure out ways to try to stop it. I like Hoenike. I think Twin Falls is also going to give them a run for their money. I mean, they bring back quite a few players on defense that were all conference selections: Connor Bradley, Taryn Casperson, and Austin Hatch. That game, that Hoenike Twin Falls game, should be one to watch. But like we've been saying before, any one of these teams can really step up and take it. But that's my pick.
You know, Hoenike, I pick Hoenike as well. And when you said they've been running the same offense, that's what they do. They run first, run second, they'll run an option, pretend to pass, and then they'll run it again. Yeah. And so new quarterback coming in, John Perigo, his job is going to be making sure he doesn't fumble the handoff a lot of the time. And that's what Perigo likes. Their games are quick because it's on the ground, no huddle, pound it, and go. And so Twin Falls, like you mentioned, they've got a defense that's stout. The offense is the question mark. So if the defense for Twin Falls, who's my second place pick, if the defense at Twin can hold the fort, so to speak, until the offense gets their legs under them, I think Twin Falls is going to have a pretty successful year.
Time to go statewide now and talk about our Twin Falls Going Places turnaround team, brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. Statewide 4A, who's a team that maybe you could have already mentioned them, maybe you didn't, but they're a team, whether they're winning the state championship or not, they're going places.
I'm going to start with Burley. Tony Cade. Did I steal yours?
Oh,
Can I go first?
Way to go.
I'm sorry.
Way to go.
And I know
like 40 teams to choose from.
And I choose the same one. Now, Burley, I mean, Tony Cade is, he was at American Falls the last couple of seasons, and American Falls had been down at that point. They'd been down for several years. He comes in, immediately brings them up to respectability, makes him competitive within the Southeast Idaho Conference. Now, after 2 years, he goes to Burley. He is a very fiery and passionate guy, and he will squeeze every ounce of talent that he has out of the kids in Burley. And I think there's a lot of talent in Burley that has been untapped for quite some time that's just sitting there.
Yeah.
I mean, that area, I mean, they're not that far from Hoenike High School. You'd think that there's quite a bit of talent, you know, just down the road, basically, as well. Yeah. And I know that there is, and I believe that he's going to get a lot of talent out of those players that he has there, and they're going to start turning it around there. It may not show a ton this year, but it's certainly in the future. But they are turning it around.
You know, and to expound on that, one of the great things I like about him, I respect most, is he can put away the wings at B-dubs. I've gone to Buffalo Wild Wings with the guy.
That's how we grade our teams here.
He can keep up with me, and I respect that. Him and Hobson. Yeah. I've gone with both of them. But no, seriously, I've got Burley, of course, Tony Cade coming in. They've got Seeley coming back, kind of shoring up that defense. Young team, very talented. They won 4 games since 2014. I see them doing a little better than that this year, but watch out for next year when this young team gets experience and get some knowledge under their belt, and they get the new system, and they get used to their new head coach. The new head coach gets used to them. 2 years, watch out.
Quick time out here on IdahoSports.com. When we come back, we'll hear from the Executive Director of the High School Activities Association, Ty Jones, next here on IdahoSports.com.
Save on the remaining 2017s during Toyota's National Clearance Event. Plus, every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care at no additional cost.
At Toyota's National Clearance Event, you could get 0% APR financing on a 2017 RAV4. Offer ends September 5th. Toyota, let's go places.
My name's Jerry, and I smoked for 30-plus years. I was elk hunting. My left arm and my left leg started tingling on me. I nearly died, and it was enough to wake me up. You know, being on the top side of the grass is a good alternative to smoking. I still hunt, and now it's getting time where the grandkids are going to start going, and I want to be there for that. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW or visit projectfilter.org.
Welcome back to IdahoSports.com for a statewide football preview show. I'm Will, this is Matt, that's Paul all the way down there. We wouldn't be here without the help of some great sponsors. And Paul, you got a couple of new ones this year that we're real excited to have join the team.
Very excited. You know, like Will said, we can't do what we do without all of our business advertisers, from small town mom and pops all the way up to our major sponsors like Cable One, who's been with us for years. This year we bring a couple more into the fold. Toyota. Statewide major sponsors coming on big with us. We really appreciate what Toyota's doing. You'll be seeing a lot of Toyota on the website, on webcast, and everything. Also, a new friend in the Idaho Army National Guard came on as a major sponsor as well. They'll be doing a lot with us as well. You'll be seeing a weekly athlete feature featuring an athlete in Idaho that has already signed up to be in the National Guard coming from them. So a lot of exciting things happening here at Idaho Sports, and we definitely want to welcome Toyota and the Idaho Army National Guard into the fold now, as we also have Project Filter. Project Filter has been doing a lot with us in the past, doing different things. This year, they're sponsoring a new feature, and it's the Play of the Week. So every Monday, we'll be putting out on the website and on YouTube the best play from our webcast the week before. So keep an eye on the Play of the Week presented by Project Filter.
Governing body of high school athletics here in Idaho, the Idaho High School Activities Association. Ty Jones, the executive director of the IHSAA. Matt, you had a chance to talk to him here this week.
I did, yeah. I got a chance to talk with him on the phone. It was a great 15, 16-minute conversation, and we're going to play a short part of that conversation for you right now surrounding some things happening in high school sports.
One of the hot button issues, one of the big topics, as you know, Ty, right now, is concussions in all sports, not just football. What are some of the things that the IHSA is doing to promote safety in high school sports?
That's one of the things that we did a few years ago is we, and we'll talk specifically about fall sports because, for the most part, the vast majority of concussions, at least for us, come from football and then soccer and volleyball and then other sports after that. Wrestling's a big one too. But we revamped our practice times and the amount of hitting that we actually do, so that we could, people weren't out there just every single day doing tackling drills and those types of things. And there's more rest involved now between practices. There's a cap on the number of hours that teams can practice and how many hours they can practice in a day. Football coaches for years have been using the two-a-day practice model. And so what we did with that is we tweaked it to where you can still have two-a-days, you just can't have them on consecutive days. We implemented a brand new, with the help of St. Luke's, a brand new concussion video that has Idaho-specific legislation in there. Our legislature came back with some ideas and some thoughts about what information they'd like to get out to schools, and so we added that to our concussion video, made our own, with the help of St. Luke's, and then ended up paying for a lot of the training that we had for our teachers and coaches. We added a sudden cardiac arrest course that was new last year that it's the leading killer of student athletes in the country, and not very many people talk about that. We thought that it was important that our coaches had, we know they're not doctors, but they at least need to know the signs and what to do, and we're in the process now of revamping our emergency medical plans and talking to districts about that. So we've been really busy actually with trying to give our schools and the coaches thoughts and ideas, and really it's on them, and they've done a great job a lot of them have already been doing this for years.
Another thing that seems to be a hot topic in Idaho right now is the classification system. And there was a proposal that was brought forth before the board of directors that they took very seriously regarding a change in the classification system. That ended up only being partially amended to now keeping the current system, but having a competitive equity form for schools that consistently struggle in sports. For those out there who don't know, Ty, could you explain to them kind of exactly what a competitive equity form is and how it might affect where a school falls in the classification system?
Yeah, what our board looked at, there was a two-piece proposal from the last system. One of them was, part of it dealt with free and reduced lunch numbers, and the other piece dealt with being able to, they wanted to look at ways that if you wanted to petition down, they wanted to give our board some hard facts and figures. And so they came up with a plan to where, unfortunately, these schools, if they petition down, are going to be schools that haven't had as much success over the last couple of years. And so they look at it as being an opportunity for them to maybe go down a classification to maybe jumpstart their programs a little bit and then get a little bit of success, and hopefully, success breeds more success, and then when they move back up, because then their numbers will improve, they'll have to move back up. They won't be able to petition down again because they'll be a little more successful. That'll give them the opportunity to hopefully get some more kids out. Once more kids get out, more excitement in the schools. But it's something that, like I said, you don't wish it on anybody, but those are things that It's going to give those schools that really struggle in almost all activities an opportunity it gives them another avenue to get down a classification.
I also wanted to ask you about the change in the mercy rule. Now, last year, 5A through 2A got a mercy rule for the first time, and that has been tweaked again. Can you explain to everyone kind of what exactly the change was and how the latest change in the mercy rule is going to benefit high school football in Idaho?
Well, benefit high school football depends on who you talk to, Matt. You know how that goes. I mean, it's one of those philosophical things. The mercy rule is, personally, I think it's a good rule. It allows for schools. You're basically protecting schools from some coaches that don't do a very good job of managing their teams and the clocks as far as when they're up a whole bunch of points. So what's changed for the 3A and the 5A is that the mercy rule will start at the beginning of the fourth quarter. The 2A and the 4A games, it starts at the beginning of the third quarter. And essentially, that gives us 3 mercy rules because the 1A mercy rule is a little bit different, but it starts right after halftime as well. But each classification felt that, by doing that, and 40 points is the rule, that's the threshold, that's what they'd like to see in their school. And, once the classifications want to do that, ideally it'd be 1 mercy rule, but when you're you can't have the same one. 8-man and 11-man football teams have different logistics sometimes that just don't allow them to play by the exact same rules.
Our thanks to Ty Jones for taking time out of his day to chat with me about different issues affecting high school sports in Idaho and different things that are happening with the Idaho High School Activities Association that many people may not know. That full interview, which is about 15 to 16 minutes long, you can view on my blog on the IdahoSports.com homepage. We'll have it on there for you, and you can check it out.
Well, maybe you might be able to check out live Paul getting absolutely hammered by a sprinkler.
Oh, did it actually get you?
No, pretty close.
It's close. It's like right up to the back line of our chairs here. If you can't see it on the webcast, this should be fun. Should be a fun final segment. We're going to take a break here on IdahoSports.com. When we come back, watch Paul get creamed by a sprinkler, and we'll make our predictions. Who we think is going to walk away with the state championship banner. You're watching IdahoSports.com 4A preview show. We'll be right back.
Save on the remaining 2017s during Toyota's National Clearance Event. Plus, every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care at no additional cost.
At Toyota's National Clearance Event, you could get 0% APR financing on a 2017 RAV4. Offer ends September 5th. Toyota, let's go places.
In the Army National Guard, you'll serve part-time to be ready to respond at all times. You'll train to master the skills and equipment used to keep the nation secure and its enemies on the run. You'll learn to be a leader and a member of a team. Become part of a time-honored tradition of vigilance and selfless service. Find your adventure at NationalGuard.com.
Welcome back on IdahoSports.com. Will, Matt, Paul. And unfortunately, our friend Mr. Sprinkler does not appear to be joining. He's a little camera shy.
Yeah.
Gets right up to the edge there, and then he stops. So we'll have to go on without him. And we're going to start with our championship game picks. So if you're looking for a little incentive, if you're looking for a little they love us, we're your one-stop shop right here. Championship game picks brought to you by our friends at the Idaho Army National Guard. Defend what matters most. So 4A, Paul, you get a start. So Matt doesn't steal your thunder again.
Thank you.
I apologize to him off air.
All day long, setting up and getting ready to do these, you've been telling us that you were going to wow us with these 4A picks.
I am.
So fire away.
I already said Skyview over Bishop Kelly, which I thought I was going to be the only one saying that, but you agreed. Looking over my shoulder and copying.
Yeah, of course.
My back hurts from carrying you, Matt.
You should.
So as it comes, I also mentioned Sandpoint up north. So I'm looking, and I looked at the bracket to make sure this could happen. Skyview over Sandpoint. Skyview is going to walk away with the 4A title this year.
Wow.
Living on the edge.
Darn right.
I like it. Go big or go home.
That's right. I don't think it's that big of a stretch. I really don't.
I could see that happening. I also have Skyview in there, and I swear I didn't steal your pick. I have Skyview going up against the defending champions, Skyline. Skyline, like I said, we mentioned this earlier, they bring back a ton of talent on the offensive line. Skyview brings back a ton of talent, ton of skill position players as well. That should be a battle. It's a rematch of the state semifinals from last year. That should be fun.
I'm going to stick with Bishop Kelly. They're the king until somebody knocks them off. Coming out of District 3, a lot of talented players. could be Skyline again, would be another heck of a good matchup, even though championship repeat games are somewhat rare. Wouldn't shock me if it happened, but I'm going to go with the Knights. I like what Coach Brennan's doing. I think he's got a good group of kids coming back. So we'll see. Time will tell. Week 1. We got to play week 1 before we can get to November.
We're excited to get there.
A lot of live webcasts, video webcasts, audio webcasts.
Yep.
Tell us about it.
Yep. Opening week, starting there on the 24th, starting on a Thursday this year. Had a doubleheader there at Holt, as well as Ridgeview at Boise at Donna Larson. A lot of 4A games. Wood River at Pocatello, Burley at Century, going down this Lakeland at Skyview. We're like 4ASports.com here.
Well, and those are some matchups that are going to tell you a lot about the 4A classification right out of the gate.
Yep, and that's just week 1, Emmett Timberline. Week 2, Bishop Kelly Bora. Both teams, it's going to be a good test game.
Who walks the canal.
Yeah, that's always a good tradition there. Pokey, Twin, we'll be covering that one. Preston at Skyline. That's going to be a big one.
And we absolutely will. We will see how far Preston has progressed and how much work Skyline needs to do to try to reach the levels that they did last year.
Yep, and 3 more 4As on there. Cuna at Rigby, Minico Burley on the 8th. That's the 9-11 game. They go all out, quick like a bunny. And then Valley View versus Middleton. So a lot of great 4A games just in the first couple of weeks here at Idaho Sports.
Yep, so stay tuned to the game stream schedule. We'll maybe be coming to your school sometime soon. Now, if you can't make it to the game, obviously the option to watch, that's why we're here, or the option to listen. And a lot of people have taken us up on that.
They have. You can see there, it shows how many live viewers / listeners we had last year. 1.2 million live. That's a lot of eyeballs and eardrums tuning into Idaho's student athletes. We love it. We love being there with you to bring these to you. There's the top 10 games. Last year was our first year doing audio. We didn't know how it was going to go. It was new territory. It went well. The number 1 viewed / listened to game was our 4A state championship, Bishop Kelly Skyline. A little over 19,000 listeners to that game. A lot of feedback. It was great. And you look down through that list, there's other audio games as well. Of course, there's video in there. A lot of games, a lot of people watching. We're excited. We love hearing the feedback, good or bad. We love it. We can't improve if we don't hear the bad feedback as well. So game streams, keep an eye on the schedule. We have the first half of the season scheduled right now. We've got more going on up north this year. Hired a new broadcaster up there, have another broadcaster in the Magic Valley, and a lot in eastern Idaho. We have Sven here now in the Treasure Valley, plus a couple more. So we're expanding our coverage. We're doing a lot here at IdahoSports.com.
And it's awesome to see how much coverage these kids are getting. I look back to when I was in high school, and I'm like, man, this would have been awesome to have. So the fact that we are expanding gives those kids that opportunity to have an experience like that. Saying, I can go back and watch that, or my family far away can watch it or listen to it.
The
whatever
internet
it is.
wasn't around when we were in high school.
No.
Yeah.
Computers barely were.
Yeah.
Paul and I are old. So we didn't know about things like social media growing up. Our idea of social media was a rotary
Hanging out at
dial
7-Eleven.
telephone.
7-Eleven in Ontario was my social
playing
media.
Dragon's Lair or something along those lines.
NBA Jam.
NBA Jam, that's where it was at.
And we are on fire here because it's a little bit warm. Unfortunately, the sprinkler has not hit us to cool us down yet.
Darn it.
Make sure to join the IdahoSports.com Army, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, also our YouTube channel. All kinds of scores, schedules, photos, videos. What? You guys are laughing at me again.
I missed it too.
I missed it. I don't know. Our producer's laughing. I don't know why.
Well, he might be laughing because he's spontaneously combusting at the moment.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I can't wait till after the show to find out what I just said. Really
we'll
looking
tweet
forward
it
to it. All right, maybe we'll tweet it on social media. Boy, goodness gracious. Time to bring this show to a close. For Paul and Matt, I'm Will. Sven's still over there laughing, so I must have said something really stupid. Go ahead and rewind it, watch it over and over again because this was taped, and you're watching the 4A preview show here on IdahoSports.com. We'll see you on the field.
This has been a presentation of IdahoSports.com Game Streams. This broadcast is copyrighted to IdahoSports.com. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of this broadcast without the expressed written consent of IdahoSports.com is strictly prohibited.